Doopy doop doop doo doop doopy doo. Be doopy doo. Looks like I'm live. It is, as Tom doing art has noted, it is a happy Labor Day. Obviously, my hair is wet. Took my Wim Hof shower, which is a completely cold shower. Been doing that for, gosh, I started doing the Wim Hof thing again. Like a year ago. The last couple of winters, I've done some walking around in the cold, but it's mostly been the breath part. But I've been doing the cold thing um, quite frequently, and it took me about 2 days to get used to it, and got up to a 10-minute cold shower. Actually, did an ice bath too. Did that for 10 minutes, but then so kind of worked up to that over a week, and then decided that the recommendation of it wasn't hard, not at all, but the recommendation of really you only need like 2 to 3 minutes. So hey, good afternoon, Tom, and happy Labor Day. Okay, what are we doing? Well, I did this shot a couple days ago. I guess I must have done the next one yesterday. And then I just made a couple little tiny color corrections to it. Yeah, so I don't remember if I just did the pencil test, if I even live streamed when I did the ink and paint. It's all a blur, friends. But then yesterday, again, I don't know that I live streamed. I don't think I did. When I did that, I just don't remember. I may have Alzheimer's. That would be bad, but um, it does all kind of blur together. And sometimes, in the evening, it's like you just feel like putting in an hour or whatever. So I'm going to switch this to the preview so I can actually switch screens and I don't have to then think about switching screens at all. So this shot's looking pretty good. As I say, I just modified it a little bit to make the lines darker and the shadows, give it a little bit more contrast. And so now we've got this Tobias shot that we're working on. So that's what's going on today. It's a Tobias shot. So this one's been corrected, so we can close that up. What is this? I guess that is actually the same shot. So in our script, Vespar's ranting. Tobias, that's what this is. He's saying, Highness, the men need rest. TNR cannot get far in the forest at night. So he's sulking, and then Tobias turns to the soldier, and his line is, let's regroup at dawn. Let's regroup at dawn. Sir? Okay. So we got to do ink on the soldier, paint on everybody, and then slap in a background, which is really just going to be stolen. I would assume we will just steal the background from that shot right there. Okie dokie. Anybody got any objections? If there are no further objections, then let's rock and roll. Okay, so step one, I would say, is let's group, Control G. Let's put the soldier in a group. Sounds like Zuko has decided that it's time to go ahead and start talking to us, so I'm not going to make a big issue out of that today. If he wants to talk, he can talk. Zuko, you're welcome to talk, little buddy. I still love you. Okay, so he turns, and then this is really just a tilt, and then the hand goes in there. So we got a genuine bona fide tween there, so I'm going to go ahead and insert 2 keyframes so that we can start getting the ink done. Now I've been dancing back and forth on this whole question of am I using my pencil or using my pen for ink. Let me look at a couple things here. This shot here originally, this was done, I believe this is the one that was done in Tahoma. So that's going to be, it looks more like an inker. This is more of a pencil. This one I think is back to the ink. This is more of a, yeah, I think we're going to stick with the pencil. It's kind of amazing what you can do with one single brush if you just, you know, make use of it. So here's the B key. I already turned this down a bit, so this should go quite quickly. We're gonna just get this guy inked. So let's name our folder or our layer, ink, and the clock is ticking. So let's rock and roll. Boom. Whoa, hey Full Chain, what's going on, man? So Tom and Full Chain are here. The wing dinger says we've got 3 concurrent viewers, so somebody ain't speaking up. That's okay. That's okay. We still, you know, we're all friends here. You're still welcome. All right, 1, 2, 3. Actually, let's be a little more careful with that. You know, one thing that occurred to me today is I was doing some sketches on paper, and I was using my yellow pencil to just block in the geometric shapes, then my red pencil to add a little bit of detail, and then my regular pencil to get the details going, and then my blue pencil for shadows. And I'm like, okay, this works pretty well. But one of the things that occurred to me was that if you don't consider yourself like the greatest in the world at drawing, these really basic, you know, your Christopher Harts and your Mark Crilly types who are often, you know, helping to train, you know, they're trying to train beginners more or less. They'll often start out with a very simplified geometric drawing, and I would just note that if you're a marginal, or if you consider yourself a marginal artist and you don't do that, let me, you know, consider yourself spanked, because you really should do that. You should, you know, if you're going to draw a character, draw the characters, draw the basic geometric shape first. Like for the head of Luca, it would be kind of this upside down teardrop, right? And because it really is true that if this would be more like Mel's head, et cetera, et cetera. If you can get the basic geometry right and then give yourself some guidelines, you really will do a lot better art. You know, I don't think there's much disputing that. So if you're telling yourself a story about, you know, talent or something that seems to demand that you are able to magically do it without those little preliminaries, you're being silly. Because pros use every trick in the book to just, you know, all that matters is get the result, you know. All right, I need to check. Hey Maria. Hey Chiziapo. I got to check his costuming. So where is he? Scan back here. There he is. Okay, so well, in his case, you're not really seeing, okay, I'm glad I checked. You're not really seeing the cloth pop out under his like you are on his. So that's fine. It doesn't really matter as long as we, hey Amar, I don't know if you saw my post. I assume you did. If you did, I think the word did is missing. Any feedback is welcome. I did not. I didn't see any post. So sorry about that. I haven't really been online. I jumped on Discord just so I could post the link to the live stream, but other than that, I really haven't been out and about on the Discordosphere, etc., etc. So boom, boom. Okay, so this guy is inked. Let's save our work. Always Control S between moves, and now let's just keep rocking. All right, he's got a very simplified nose. You do have a little bit of a curvature there coming under, and Zuko just said hello again. Everybody says hi, Zuko. Everybody says hi. In fact, I'm pretty sure, Zuko, that you are the favorite African gray parrot of all of the people that tune into this channel. I could be wrong about that, but I'll bet you have most favored bird status. I think that's a safe statement. Here comes Valerie in the background, passing through. Oh, still limping. She's got that little owie on her foot that she got fiddling around in the garden the other day, and unfortunately, still plaguing her a bit. Okay, so now this is where I do a little bit of flipping just to see, well, especially if I didn't necessarily do an adequate job on my guidelines. Zuko's a favorite. He is a favorite. Okay, this is a mistake right here. This is an error. This guy actually just has a solid gray color here and then brown here, so I'm actually glad for that because that means his costuming is kind of simple-ish. B key, boom, boom, okay, boom, boom. So we'll kind of do this, and now this, I guess I could shrink it down a little bit, huh? Okay, I want to get this contour correct. It doesn't have to be like stone perfect, but it does need to kind of stay put and move naturally, right? So, boom, and just a little indication there, and probably going to pull that out just a little bit more. Let's allow the wrinkling to happen, and there it is. This is a one-frame tween, by the way, so we have a little bit of latitude insofar as, you know, making it perfect continuity. As I always say, I'm not trying to be a slop hog, but you got to know when it matters. So there's that. There we go. Shot number 2 inked. Let's go to number 3. Okay, this is the one where he's going to land, so let's be a little bit more cognizant of our characterization than we might be on a one-frame tween. Isn't making cartoons fun, you guys? Isn't this like the coolest thing? Oh, there's quite a bit of chat going on. Oh, you had an African gray. I probably knew that, Maria, but I guess I had forgotten. That's cool. Full chain. Got used to the light box on all the time under the papers. I can't draw without seeing the onion skins. Now, that's an interesting thing. I've actually thought it would be fun to try a light box. Probably the reason I haven't done it, I mean, there's something about the limitations of a paper because you can't zoom in. You know, you're stuck at a certain scale no matter what. And I think that's not a bad thing. The reason I haven't done it is this. Every time I've ever tested scanned art versus, you know, setting aside the extra work, because it does take some extra work to do scanned art, obviously. But every time I've ever A-B'd the results, and it could be my fault, but against digital, there's not even any contest. Now, that's a stupid thing to say from the standpoint that you could argue, well, wait a minute, you know, most of the history of anime, a lot of which looks great, was done that way. So, what's wrong with you, Dave? That's a fair argument. But for me, I've never been able to get... Now, and to be fair, I haven't actually used a scanner. I've used a camera when I've done it, because I haven't had a scanner for a long time. But scanners are cheap. I mean, if you really wanted to do it, it's not like... I mean, the cost of entry is pretty low. Probably a heck of a lot lower, actually, than, you know, digital tools, tablets and whatnot. So there's that to consider. But having said that, Full Chain does have a point. Right now, I am thinking that maybe I would like seeing the closest I come to the light table, I would say, is just like going full screen like this. Okay, what just happened? Tab. So I guess you get used to it. Honestly, Full Chain, I usually don't like it. I mean, to me, the skins distract me. But, I don't know, I'm sure you just get used to it. Okay, so he's turning a little bit here. This aspect of it is definitely helpful, just for measuring and getting things lined up correctly. Um, Without a doubt, you're going to benefit from having the skins. Boom, boom. So we'll let that deviate a little bit from the other. And hey, Blifton, haven't seen you in a while, my friend. Good to see you today. All right, N key. So this is actual size. Looks like we're in good shape. Okay, honestly, it probably makes sense to put the hand on a different layer. So let's just plan on that. Okay, yeah, because what we're going to do here is we're just going to anchor him around where his body weight would shift, and then we're going to have to clean up the the lines that are broken here from the edge. Okay, but I believe when I did the pencil test, I essentially just moved him around. I didn't redraw that. So, okay, let's turn the skins back off, and actually let's turn this off too, so we can really see what we're doing. And 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna say probably about there looks good. I'm definitely winging it here a little bit. Okay, there we go. That feels good, guys. I think we've gotten rid of any potential leaks. I still need to install Krita 5.1 though and see how the lasso fill thing works. If that works, that would be a bit of a win. Okay, so we'll just call this layer here hand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my destination, which is here. Well, I guess I was going to say I'm going to work backwards, but there really isn't even a tween getting the hand in there. It just snaps into place, which I guess isn't ridiculous. I mean, it's a salute after all. All right, so we got a cuff. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the ink down. And I'm going to turn the pencil test down so I can just see what I'm doing here. All right, and then probably not the dumbest thing I've ever done would be to tighten up the hand in the pencil test here, just so I'm going to go ahead and G key, E key, G E, B E, just so I can attend to the anatomy a little bit more properly. Okay, so these fingers are going to overlap. And so obviously the pinky is going to be in front. That'll work. Okay, and so now I'm going to say this is actually kind of I better undo that. Yeah. Okay, I erased a little bit on the wrong layer, which is the cardinal sin. The cardinal sin is to be working on the wrong layer. Somebody said yesterday they do it all the time too. I think it was Full Chain. Was it you, Full Chain? Somebody said they always find themselves in the wrong freaking layer. Well, they didn't say freaking, to be completely accurate. Right. Okay, that's easy peasy, right? And so now we will simply, let's take that out for a minute and check something. Yeah, so actually it looks to me like um, I put a little itsy bitsy tween here when he says the word sir, and then I'm going to go ahead and do that and then hit insert. So let's see how it feels. We'll turn the ink or the pencil test off and rewind, which is shift spacebar. We'll regroup in the morning, sir. Okay, so obviously a mouth situation would be quite useful. Let's go to here and then right here. I would say in this case, it's tempting to bake it in, but I think we'll just put another layer on top of that. So M-O-U-T-H, that spells mouth. Okay, and in the pencil test, it was here. So we'll put it there, boom, hit the G key, and then we'll just draw a shape, and I believe it was a one framer. Okay, so that's it. I think our pencils are, or I mean our ink is done. Now, there's certainly a case to be made for an eye blink or two or three. Let's go to Tobias. And I think what we'll do is we'll go Control Insert, and then we'll go back one frame and hit GE. We bring good things to live in. Ba-doop-doop-doop-doop. Okay, B key. Oops, but not in erase mode, you silly goose. Okay, so we give him a blink, and then I think we're going to do the same thing for Mr. Young Soldier. Right here. So Young Soldier in his ink layer. Control Insert, and then go back one frame and put in the blink. Okay, G, E again. B, E turns it back into a pencil and not an eraser, and there we go. Okay, that's it. Save our work. Okay, what's going on in the whoops, somebody said CSP. Because of the change in CSP's pricing model. Yeah, I've been hearing that. I think Amar brought that up the other day. Plus Darren. Hey, Full Chain, did you ever answer me? I don't remember if you answered me yesterday when I asked you what software you use. Or are you still scanning, using a light table and plus Darren and Dave use it. I certainly don't use it. I have it, but I don't use it. I have zero interest in Tahoma. Okay. I was thinking maybe, but geez, I just don't remember. Yeah, the wraparound feature, Creed has been able to do that for years. That's definitely something here. Oh, you use Krita and Tahoma. So you're like me. This we have in common, it would seem. Okay, so back to Tobias. Let's go put in a color layer, CLR, and we'll put her on the bottom. And then I'm actually going to duplicate that. Also call that CLR, and then slide it up here so that he's got a color layer too, and then save my work. Okay, we need a reference for Tobias, and so I'm going to smack that onto the clipboard and Control V. Okay, so that's going to be our color key for Tobias. I guess we'll put it on top there. Color key GE, as I often do. I just lasso everything that's not my character, and then typically scale it down so I can get it more or less out of the way. Okay? So, now it must be said that he's largely in shadow, so actually F key. Let's go here and let's definitely stick one keyframe in, and I'm going to do the same for the other guy right now while I'm thinking about it. But we want to sample that color right there. That's actually the skin color. So this is going to be a little problematic because obviously we need to create a border here with the beard. So I think I'm going to go through and close my shapes first. So there's that. That looks good. Might wind up with a little leak there. Okay. And where is Tobias? Oh, it's not pinned. No wonder. Curse you, Red Baron. Okay, we don't need a color there, and we need a color there. So we'll just wrap that around like that. Get this edge closed up. It doesn't matter if we use the beard color or the skin color since they're on a border with each other. Hey, Sifter. What is going on here? Scenes that need 3D backgrounds into Blender, obviously. Yep. Instead of Control V, try Control Shift plus R next time you want to paste a reference image. Why? Why? What's that's a? I'm glad you said that. Give me, sell it though. Sell it for me. What's the selling proposition? Why would I, if I'm gonna just put something in here and sample the colors as a color key, and I'm gonna definitely delete it once I've put the color in. You know, it's just a temporary holding spot right there. What do I gain by using Control Shift R? This I would like to know. And I'm going to actually try it right now just to see what happens. Control Shift R. Okay, so we've got the reference image. What does this do? Crop it or something? How is that? How is that better? I mean, okay, it locks to scale. Help me out here, Sifter. How is that better? I don't get it. I'm going to delete that for the moment and wait for you to reply. Move it outside the okay. Control Shift R. Gotcha. Okay, that is useful. It's useful if I can sample the colors. So let's find out. So let's go to the F key as if we were going to do some color here, which would put me on this layer. And now can I sample this? And yes, I can. So, okay, that is useful. I don't know if it, honestly, I don't know if it's useful enough for me to change my habit, but but I get your point. So that is useful. Okay. B key. Now, how do I grab this now that I have let go of it? How do I grab it again if I either want to delete it or move it or whatever? Do I have to, is there a reference image tool or something that I have to invoke to just be able to grab the stupid thing again? Because if there is, then that would be that would be kind of a negative to me. It's like one more step for, not much savings. Okay. Okay, let's go back here and see how this went. Okay, we don't care that the eyes are filling in. That's fine. We knew that was going to happen. Okay, and just to be clear, I just saw a comment come on. I'm hoping that's Sifter. Lets you manipulate. Yeah, it's a pin icon on the toolbar. Ah, that. Okay. So I have to switch to a different tool just to grab it, whereas if I do it my normal way, I just drag it in and, So I don't know. To me, I would call that one 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. There's no real particular benefit to doing it either way over the other. That would be my opinion. And for the moment, I'm going to stick to that. Okay, let's grab that. Uh-oh, we got a leak. Or Zuko would say. Okay, behind mode lets us go ahead and fix these things without harming our color. You can add as many reference images outside the canvas as your system can handle. Okay, well yes, that's useful. On a fill screen session, could be useful for side-by-side reference while painting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, any reference situation could be useful for sure. Okay. Keep rocking, friends. Keep rocking. Now you can see there's a lot of artifacting, but we don't care because that's going to be easy to fix. So I'm just switching back to my brush. What I find is it really doesn't matter what color you use to solve that. Okay, so if you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, it would be like you might pick a neutral color that's kind of dark-ish, and then just hit the G key, and if you're in behind mode by just lassoing everything, it's gonna fill in all of the little holes, right? And because it's in behind mode, the only thing that's gonna happen is it's just gonna fill in those little flaws. So works, as probably Darren would say, it works a treat. It's kind of a British way of saying stuff. Okay, so let's sample this color and lasso this. Because we're in behind mode, it's only going to fill in the eyebrows, which is quite useful. Here, I'm going to go ahead and hit the F key. Okay, now we need this color. F key, boom, boom, boom. And what else do we need? We need that little color, which is going to be slightly too dark. So I'm going to allow for a little bit. That's definitely too dark. Let's go to normal mode and yeah, let's smack that in there. And then we will deal with the other part of his gobbledygook. Okay, which is going to be here. Okay, yeah, it's basically tan. It's tan. Okay, so we'll go here. We can't see the... like the diadem or whatever you want to call it that he has on his. It's a little too close to his skin color, although I guess if we look at the other image, it's basically a little darker than his skin color. That's pretty much what we're after here. So there we go. Okay, So now let's go back into brush mode and let's grab my quote unquote nice brush. And we will fix the whites of his eyes. We'll fix those the perimeter edges shortly. So don't panic, friends, don't panic. I know it looks bad at the moment, but boy, oh boy, it's gonna look good when I'm done. At least I hope so. All right, there's that. There's that. Need food. Tom's talking about the fill depth settings. I know, dude. Are you talking to me? I think you're talking to me. Yeah, I don't really care about the fill depth settings at the moment. Okay, we're gonna have an issue here, so let's go Control Insert, go back one frame, sample the skin, and just paint this out. Okay, so now the thing about Tobias is it seems like he had, yes, kind of steel blue eyes, and actually it looks like roughly that color. So let's go to our reference image. Well, duh. I mean, I guess we can just steal that color. Problem is, it's in shadow, so we'll go just a little bit lighter and see how she looks. Okay, so B key. Probably not too bad. We can always add some details too, as far as specular, and obviously pupils would be not the worst idea ever. But Tobias's eyes are a little different than a lot of the characters in that his irises are dominant, pretty definitely dominant. Okay, let me hit and okay, so we definitely have a big problem right here. Let's go here to Tobias, and this really needs to be called ink, not Tobias. Okay, sample that color, and let's just color over that. Interesting. Yeah, that'll work. Go back here. Oh wait, I don't want to do that. Strike that. Needs to be in the color layer. Oh, Dave, you silly goose. Okay, that's kind of weird. Sample that and draw. Okay, what's going on? Undo. Oh, I know what's going on. That's what's going on. Like an idiot. I made a boo-boo. So we'll just go into erase mode, and sorry about that. That's embarrassing. I put the color on the wrong layer and paid a hefty price. There we go. There we go. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do. Let's go back to this brush and put a little bit of an edge there. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. Okay, the fill tool settings, threshold and spread, probably works best if the lines are drawn aliased. Well, I mean, any animation software, it's pretty much axiomatic that you're going to have better fills if you don't have aliasing. Now that does suggest that you need to have 2 pixel lines, not 1 pixel lines, because then what will happen is you'll have essentially like this, and this will not be considered a closed line, and so you'll get leaks through there. So if you're doing anti-aliased, then you have to use a 2 pixel line, which is usually fine. I mean, 2 pixels is usually plenty. Doesn't seem overly thick even at broadcast HD, but it is something to be cognizant of. Okay? So as far as fill settings, I don't care because not to be snarky or anything. I don't worry about the fill settings because if it's not filling that tightly, for example, I just click. I go click click click. I just click 2 or 3 times instead of once, and that turns out to be probably easier than trying to dial in the settings because for the longest time, this has been my settings. I've always had this threshold of 5 and then grow selection 1 pixel and feather at 1 pixel. Those have been long-standing Krita settings for me that work. With the caveat that sometimes you do have to click multiple times to get good coverage. So, to which I say, whoop-de-doo, it takes all of like 1 second to do. Not even, actually. Okay, so now we're in normal mode, and I'm going to tighten this up with my brush, and then hit the G key so I can lasso this stuff, and that'll just tighten up everything else. Whoops, that I did not mean to do. So, boom, this is cleaner, this is fine, little bit of a wingdinger there. Okay, let's go to shadows. Boom, SHD, and let's just have nothing but fun with shadows today. Boom, insert. We want our shadows to be black, and then I'm going to use my quote-unquote nice brush. Okay, my nice brush, I just like it because it's kind of a thick-ish brush that I can just use to just paint stuff in, and it tends to work. Okay, and then we'll roll this back to the typical 15-16%. If we catch a little bit of shadow action on the underside of the beard, no problem. That looks fine. That is not a problem for us, is it? So, Zuko's over there saying, Kyle? Why are you saying Kyle's name? Zuko misses Kyle. Kyle moved out. Oh, I don't know. It's been about 3 months ago now. And he's doing great. He's doing great. He started classes about a week ago, 2 weeks ago maybe. So college classes are going well. Yeah, well what happens is well, just try it. You'll see what I mean. When there's feathering, when you put the color in, you're effectively changing the detected area to fill. So what happens is if you do it multiple times, it just keeps growing out another pixel every time. So it's like 9 times out of 10, one click does it, but in the one instance where it doesn't, are you going to fiddle with your fill settings or are you just going to click twice? Click, click, done, So pragmatism carries the day on that one for me. All right. Okay, and you can see a little issue there. This should be alpha locked, obviously. And I think I'm going to go ahead and let that go down a little bit further. Okay, and now in the ink layer, I'm going to go ahead and make a couple little adjustments. Okay, first of all, and then in the color layer, it's just something about Tobias. I don't usually knock myself out doing specular on eyes on this show, but for Tobias, it's a little more important. Tobias's prevailing kindness is an important part of his character, and having a little bit of specular in the eyes just kind of punches that up a bit, Okay, so that feels pretty good. Let's go to... Okay, I did not realize that I had this tween in here, so I need to insert another color keyframe. And let's just turn the shadows off for now so they're not distracting us. Go back to this, and like I said, spank me. I missed that one keyframe. But this is the difference in Dave today versus Dave a year ago, I think. Is when I realize I have a little something I got to do here, I'm not going to be finished as quick as I thought or that sort of thing. I actually like it. It forces me to sort of just anchor down into the work. Get back to drawing, you know. I think that's a powerfully good thing. Oh yeah. So you can see, click, 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 see what happens. It just tightens it up. It's all good, friends. It's all good. But yeah, if you don't want to, if you want to deal with the easiest fill situation possible, then you definitely want non-anti-aliased ink lines. And oops, there's a leak. But see, watch this. Okay, click. Okay, now see how it encroaches like that? Now the way you prevent that, here's the thing you got to realize. So I'm going to undo that and show you. More often than not, when I do fills, I deliberately put it in behind mode so that it can't encroach on areas that are already colored. Because if you look at the layer I'm in, this is what's in the layer. So if we go click, 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 we can click a bunch of times, and it's going to fill everything that it can. And because it's in behind mode, if I hit the G key and just do a quick lasso, it's going to catch all those little things that it missed, right? And now, let's face it, that's a perfect fill situation. So, oops, forgot about my leak. There it is. Boom. Fill, fill. And I often will be like right there. I'm just like, oh, I might as well click it twice just to make sure we catch it. And on we go. Okay, so now I think we got to finish the costuming situation here. Fill that. Back a frame, sample that, forward a frame, fill that, back a frame, sample that, forward a frame, and in this case I'm going to lasso it. Boom. Boom. Okay, so there we go. See a hiccup right there. So I'm just going to lasso it. Again, when you're doing fill cleanup with lassoing, it almost doesn't matter what color you use. You know, I could use the flesh tone here. And it's going to catch a pixel here and a pixel there, and it'll punch up the quality of the look, but yet it really doesn't have to be the right color. Generally, you probably want it to be a darker color rather than a lighter color. But I suppose that's all I have to say about that. Okay, this originally was done with Liquify, this tween, when I did it in the... I don't think I did it with Liquify in the ink, but I did in the pencil test. Why do I mention this? Well, because probably doing Liquify on the shadows would be somewhat apropos here. You know, and that's really all that's required. Now we can just dial in and go GE, so we're erasing, and then let's just go in and clean out this. Cool beans? Little bit of a hiccup there. Oh yes, and we want to redo the ears. We'll clean this up. Now that I'm zoomed in here, I can see where I kind of botched that a bit. So let's go to black, B key with our quote-unquote nice brush, and just go in and fixie, pixie, fixie. Okay, now he did have a little, whoops, on the earlier shot he had a, okay, stop. Sorry, made a mistake, hit the wrong key and followed something up. He did have a little bit more delineation of this wrinkle action. And I don't really think he did here, but that's probably okay. All right, and I'm going to actually erase into that. Okay, I think we're in good shape. On to the next. Okay, insert. How did I get to frame 8? It's a bit disturbing. Okay, so now I've got the keyframes in there. So now we can go. We got black going on, and we don't want to be in erase mode. Silly. And so now this is just about punching up the image quality, friends. That's what we're trying to do. And as I said, I find this, the tedium of really having to go in and make it look good by hand, I've been finding that quite enjoyable, actually, of late. Okay, so we're going to go here. Okay, and this is actually wrong. This is wrong. So I'm glad I caught that. E key so I can erase. There we go. There we go. So this E key again, so we're back out of erase mode, and just a little bit like that. Okay, let's zip out. You can see in the color layer we do have a little bit of hokiness on that edge right there, and so I'm gonna just see if a little behind mode helps. Yep, it does. See that? Boy, it's a pretty easy small step you can take that almost always punches up the image quality. Whoopsie, that's not what we wanted to do. Well, that's because of the brush I'm using, so we'll just do that one by hand. Okay, back to shadows, back to black, and just get a sense of what the shadows are shaping up like here. And I would say something like that. Doesn't have to be the Mona Lisa here, since this is a one frame tween after all. All right, anything new on the chat? How are you making the fill independent from the ink layer? Okay, I think what you mean is, how are you making, because you know obviously that the ink and the color are in separate layers. So the answer to that would be with the F key. Which is it? I'll look at what the setting is here. You definitely don't want to be in fast mode. Fast mode will not respect multiple layers. I don't actually think, if you're not in fast mode, I think that the default is to, I'm looking for the setting because I thought there was an explicit setting to respect all layers when you do a fill. So F key, I'm not seeing that. Fill entire selection, use selection as boundary. Well, yeah, we're not using a selection at all. So yeah, I think the default is that a fill operation is going to respect all layers. Does that answer your question, Sifter? Sample. Am I? Oh, I'm looking straight at it and not seeing it. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much for punching that in there. Yes. Right here. Sample, current layer. Probably the default is current layer, actually. So I've had it on all layers for, 3 years. That's my setting. So, yeah, that's huge. I mean, you would not want to be without that feature. That's for sure. You would not want to be without that one. It's a big, yeah, that's going to save you some time there, buddy. No doubt about it. Okay, so here we go. Let's get the shadow in here. Kind of drop that down a little bit there below his chin. We'll just drop that below there. And we're going to let his eyes kind of fall in shadow and then slight shadow down under the wrinkle zone. Wrinkle zone. Yep. This is almost a little too stilted the way I shadowed this, honestly. Because you got a perfect shadow that's about the same size both on the hair and under the hair, so you can. Yeah, if you do like Ed Tadeo does, and you really get into using the selection tool to, in other words, if you've done a good job of inking to where you do have closed shapes, then you can use selections to make flatting easier. I probably shouldn't say too much about that because it's not my normal practice, so I don't really do that very often. But I did do it on a shot the other day, and of course it's easy in Tahoma because you've got the freehand fill tool. So again, anybody that wants to, like, if you really want to do flatting, okay, let's turn off our color key. If you really want to do flatting, what you're after is you're saying, okay, and there's multiple reasons to do it. Like if I could draw a lasso around this character and immediately just fill them all with one color, it really does several things for you. One is it makes him visible above a background, so you get a better sense of your composition. It also creates, let me think about this. It's funny because, you know, what Ed does is he flats everything, and then he puts each color on its own layer. And there's tools in Krita, I can't even remember what it's called because I never use it, but there's a tool, a pretty badass tool actually, that's all about what the heck is it? I never use the tool. Somebody could jump in the comments if you want, but because I can't remember what it is. But there's a tool that's a pretty capable fill tool that makes filling a kind of a doddle, and it does put all the colors on separate layers. Okay, so essentially, I can't remember what the tool is called. But what it does is it lets you set up to do fills. Let's try it. We'll try it. I'll show you here. I got to remember. Bear with me here for just a second because I want to find it. It's kind of a cool tool because what it does is it lets you put a swatch of color in each area that you want to have it fill, and then it figures out how to fill in each of those layers for you. So if it's not too much of a pain, we'll do it. If it is a pain, I'm going to probably backpedal on that, but I just can't remember. Oh, it's over here. Here it is. Here it is. Colorized mask editing tool. Okay, so let's take, I guess, do we want to be on the color layer here? Not sure. Colorized mask. And yeah, this might be more of a pain than it's worth. Because there's a few, you guys look into it yourself. Colorized mask. There's good tutorials online about it on YouTube. But if you're looking for an alternative sort of approach to coloring and fill operations, it might be something you want to take a peek at. Okay, I'm going to get back to work because otherwise I'm going to start getting frisky because I'm not getting my work done. Okay, so insert. Yeah, we'll just color those guys all separately. And obviously we're going to have to look at, probably what I'm going to do honestly is bake his color into his hand. So the hand's going to have the color baked in just so it covers everything up. It's like, what's the big deal? It's only there for a few frames. Okay. Hope that makes sense. Layer split layer probably is something like that. Well, see, you can do that. The thing is, you can do that with this too. Split layer is different than the colorized mask tool. Colorized mask tool is pretty powerful if you look into it. But split layer lets you take a layer like this that has a bunch of colors, and it'll go ahead and split them all up so each color is in its own layer. So if you had to do more surgical color correction on something that you've already you know, you've done all the fill operations and all the colors baked into a single layer, it's actually stupidly easy in Krita to rectify that and be able to edit it more surgically. I just rarely need to, you know. So I don't, you know, it hasn't come up very many times ever for me. But you can't deny there's some pretty powerful tools here in Krita that I've never really tapped into very often. Okay, I want to go back to here and whoopsie poo, grab this shot. Okay, so I'm going to cut that to the clipboard. And again, I'm doing it my stupid way. I'm just going to do that. And, well, actually, you know what? Just to be nice, let's do it Sifter's way. Control-Shift-R. And now I'm going to move this off screen. See, I actually still find this to be inferior because now he's way the heck over there. Now, can you flip it? Yes, of course you can flip it. Well, actually, yeah, I guess you can. So if I'm going to use it, I'm going to flip it. Okay. So I guess that's okay. I guess that's functional. All right, so in the color layer, what are we going to do here, friends? Hit the F key, sample that, and 1, 2, oh, we got a leak. B key. There, you know, there's just no way around. You're going to have leaks. It's always nice if you can avoid them, but they kind of are a fact of life. Okay, and so it's probably the most, you know, for me, it's the thing that breaks my pace probably more than any other thing. Oh, looks like we're good here. So then there I just clicked it like 6 times in a row to just so it'd fill in the edges and stuff. Okay, so 1 da 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 da. And I'm going to turn the hand off. We'll come back to the hand later. Okay, so now he's got a kind of a, well, that color beard. What do you call that color? I don't know. I'm sure it has a name, says the Honorable Tobias. Now, we're in behind mode, so that means I can just lasso the eyebrow. And it's just going to magically do what I want it to do. Boom. 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 Looks like I missed a little tiny spot there. Boom. And there's lots of booms today as we charge through. Okay, that won't work. Okay, so this has to be colored separately. Boom. Fill tool. Come back here. Sample this again. G key and lasso. Hope this is making sense. If there's anything I'm doing that's confusing, you know, like Sifter's question about how do you make it observe all the layers. I mean, those are good questions. All right, this actually is the same as this. Okay, stop. Krita, I hate when you do that. It seems to have perceived a double click, so it assumed that I wanted to actually move all layers. The sensitivity of that is kind of high. IMHO. Okay, that did not work. Whew, that was disturbing there for half a second, wasn't it? Okay, actually, I think this is wrong. Let's go to normal mode. Nope, I had it right, actually. I had it right. So we're going to have to do the lasso thing there to tighten up the glitches. So we're in behind mode, so that means we can go like, whoops, we can go like that. And you can just kind of see where there's quite a bit of leaky poo going on. And we don't like leaky poo. I don't know why I'm doing that voice today. I don't know quite where that comes from, but there it is. There it is, friends. I'm sure you'll forgive me. Okay, here we go. Boom. All right, zooming out just a skosh. That's going to be the brown, actually, I think. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Oops. Looks like there is a rogue leak right there, friends. Right there. Okay, what's going on? I know you mentioned why you do it because it's faster for you, but it seems like it would be more organized to have your palettes built out. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'll tell you why here in half a second. Oh, well, you talking about? Well, you know what? Actually, okay, I get what you're saying. I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying, but I'm still going to argue for my way. Here's why. You, it's true that it's true that edit level color correction is a thing, and of course you can use secondary color correctors and really dial in what you're operating on. But what I find is that I've certainly never had anybody look at my show, and obviously, if you guys are seeing me do the work, you're saying, well, it seems like you're working harder or causing yourself problems. I get that. Okay. But what I've done is I just go in and find a shot, usually in the same sequence, that has the colors, has the character in it. And, you just sample it. So the thing is, when you go to a completely different sequence, you're going to have a different environment and the colors may change anyway. So it's kind of like rigging. It's like rigging. It promises to save you tons of time, and then what happens is it often does, but it's also just as often that it turns out the shot you're working on happens to be the exception to the rule, and all that preliminary work to save time doesn't work for that shot. So I'm not, if I was running a studio and I had 10 people working for me and I'm going, okay, we got to have an organized system here, then yes, we probably want to establish palettes and all the rest. But remember, on Assault and Light episode 2, I did it. I did it. The first, several weeks that I was working on episode 2, I think it was, I set up palettes in Tahoma, and now you could blame Tahoma for this, but it turned out that palette management was because it was evolving. So in other words, in a perfect world, this if you have everything codified, it works perfectly if you get it right on the first day and it never changes. If you get it right and it never changes, yes, absolutely, it's going to work better. The problem is that never happens. So I'm being a little strong about this, but I don't know. I just kind of defy someone to show me where just pulling out a shot from the same scene and sampling the colors, the only place you're going to get real savings, I think, is when on the very first shot, because on the first shot you are establishing the color scheme. But remember, this whole sequence is exceptional because everything about the colors in this sequence is exactly what I'm saying. Everything in this sequence is the exception to the rule. Why? Because they're in the forest at night. So everything's got a bluer tint to it. So if you did a bunch of work to establish a color scheme for Vespar, for this sequence, all bets are off. Now, is it true that you could use the default colors and then add a layer to tint it? Yes, you could do that. There's nothing wrong with that. So there's more than one way to attack it, but all I'm saying is that at the end of the day, you're talking about a few seconds here and a few seconds there, as opposed to any kind of delusion about a large scale time savings. And if you're going to argue about consistency in the show, then I would argue back, well, wait a second. What about when you have a sequence where you can't use the the standard color scheme because you're in an environment that won't allow it. So these are all, I mean, if you argue it this way and argue it that way, you're right. No matter which argument you take, you're correct. Because there are cases where it's better to do it this way, and there's cases where it's just as good to do it that way. So that's just my opinion. You know, it reminds me of somebody interviewing. Because let's face it, guys, I am pretty fast. Okay, I'm not saying I'm the fastest guy out there, but I'm pretty lickety split on this stuff. And I remember, when Steve Cano was talking about how people would kind of ride him because he did scripts on a Selectric typewriter. They're like, man, dude, wouldn't you be a lot faster if you used a word processor instead of a Selectric and actually type it? And he's like, well, how fast do you want? I can do an episode in 5 days and 3 if I have to. I can do it over the weekend if I really have to. I'm like faster than anybody in the industry. So how much faster do you really want me to be, right? So I think he was making a good point, because his methodology was to write a script, and then he would have the paper pages, and then he would do a pencil edit on the paper pages and then retype them. So it's an unconventional methodology, but the fact is the guy was super, super fast doing it that old school way. So anyway, I belabor the point, obviously. You got to do what works for you, Tom says. Yes, you're correct. Character sheet with colors, and then for each scene, an overlay to set the lighting. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that workflow. In my case, what I did on this sequence was I just went back to episode 2 where the 2 soldiers showed up in the first place, and just screenshot, click, boom, I just screenshotted it. Well, there's my palette, done. So, is having a palette established somewhere and in your folders and files better than just sampling the shot from the show? How is one better than the other? Either way, you have to go get a file either through the clipboard or off your file system. Actually, the show way is almost easier because the edit's always open, right? Whereas the other way, you got to go. Where it could be beneficial would be if you were actually baking the palettes into like a Krita template, where you're actually getting some palette action going on. Okay, by the way, Sifter, about this reference image thing, I just want to note, this might be me, but I want to note that now I have noticed twice I have gone to sample a color and it has not caught the color sample. That's twice it's happened. Whereas I don't see that happening when I just sample the image. So maybe that's me, but things like that are the kind of thing that I tend to notice, where I'm looking at this new tool and I'm going, okay, how's this new tool going to actually let me down? Not to be cynical or anything, but I mean, okay, I'm going to bend the rules here a little bit in this case. If you look at the reference, he's got this thing, and he should actually be catching a little bit of this cloth here. So I'm going to leave this mistake in the show so that some observant viewer downstream can find it and have the thrill of finding a mistake. Because leaving it as it is effectively is correct everywhere except really probably here, just on the first frame. So I'm going to leave it there. I just think that's fine. Okay. Again, I'm not trying to be, Mr. Know-it-all or anything. I am pragmatic. And when something's ostensibly going to make my workflow easier or save me time, a lot of times you find out, you just do. You just find out a lot of times. It's like the new fill tools in Krita. They're probably amazing until you start using them and you find Krita crashing, because that happens frequently. That's normal. That's the normal sequence of events. So I approach improvements with a certain dubious cynicism. which some people may find a little irritating. So what I'm going to do is sample this color right here, this steely gray, go into behind mode, and now we're going to actually literally just, ooh, that wasn't what was supposed to happen. I actually put it in burn mode. You guys get my point. Mr. Pragmatist. I need to zoom out a bit so that I'm not giving myself unnecessary grief. So all I'm doing is I'm basically saying, hey, there's probably some rogue There's probably some rogue pixels here somewhere. In fact, I know there are. You can see when I hit undo right there how some pixels lit up. So good practice is to just take your shot and go through. Oh, come on. Oh, I hate this so much. Sorry, guys. This curve interpolation on the freehand path tool, man, I wish the Krita developers would not make it so that curve interpolation is not only the default, but you can't change it. So every time you use the tool, you have to reset it to raw. And I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again since I'm feeling a little frisky, is that in all the time I've been using Krita, the default interpolation for the freehand path tool, curve, which does smoothing, it does aggressive smoothing. Especially like right there, especially if you move fast. Whereas in raw mode, it pretty much draws what you intended to draw. In all the years I've been using the tool, how many times has the curve interpolation actually been desirable? Precisely one time in what, 3 years now, that's been a useful choice. So, a little baffling. Okay, let's go to shadows. SHD. SHD. We do want to alpha lock it. Okay, what's going on out there in Vinland? Dave actually does work off an established palette. It's just in the form of a colored frame he's done already. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And the thing is that usually it's like dragging an image into the shot as a color key, okay? That is the poor man's palette. It's the poor man's palette. It's like, I'm an idiot. I have software that doesn't have palette management and all this crap. And, you know, if I didn't, let's say, I mean, Krita can probably do it in 1,000 different ways, but let's say I'm using a crude tool. In other words, I'm trying to use the aspects of Krita that are robust and work. Okay? So often people get excited about a new tool that merely packages and duplicates functionality that was already there if you just thought it through. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Why is that a problem? It's a problem because 9 times out of 10, the new feature that packages capability that was already there in the tool, if you just thought about it for half a second, turns out to be data deficient. In other words, you can see that they're using the same essential code in 2 different places, and it's 2 different code bases, and so you wind up with the same functionality buggier. In other words, let's put it a different way. If I could go back 2 years in Krita's development, 100%, literally 100% of all development would have been just in making the existing functionality for animation robust and bug-free. They have done a lot of that over the last year, but it comes in sort of fits and starts, you know, issues with buffering and stuff. Because the new features usually don't add much. You know? Like a new blending mode is usually, honestly, just a combination of 2 different blending modes that if you configured it up correctly, you could actually get the same functionality with the existing blending modes. I'm just using that as an example off the top of my head. And I suppose the more snarky point of view on this type of thing is this. We all probably should spend less time getting all excited and Twitter-pated about the new tools and more time just doing the work. Because we'd probably get one flaming hell of a lot more done. But obviously, the software world thrives on featureitis because there's this delusional siren song that somehow the tool is gonna, finally open the windows where my creativity can flow, and I can finally capture this idea that was in my mind. I can finally do it now because the right tool finally came along. Well, no, actually, somehow there's people, in Hollywood or whatever. I mean, there's people somewhere that have found a way to do it for decades. So it turns out, no, you didn't need the new version of Blender. You just needed to apply some brain power and get busy. Am I wrong? Anybody want to challenge me on that? And what it does is give more organic results. Thank you, Fulcher. You're really defending me here. It gives more organic results. A strict color palette without the nuances of anti-aliasing can get you very sterile results like standard Saturday morning cartoons. And there's a place for that. Creatively, sometimes that is the right choice for the type of show you're doing, for sure. Meanwhile, I have no clue how I'm going to be able to color in all the frames that are going into my project. Right. Okay. You don't just pull them from the character sheets you created? Right. And then in traditional animation, I mean, if you really go back to the analog days, of course, there's also the component of saying, well, you're going to use color timing on your film to actually deal with tinting and this and that and the other. I don't give them colors till I'm at color stage. I'm just thinking I've got way too many frames. Well, you're a good animator, Full Chain, so I guess you'd be forgiven for having lots of frames. Right. Okay, here I'm actually going to hit the fill tool because that all has to be just colored in anyway. So I'm just going to do that and then go back to the brush. But I mean, really, I mean, for all my snark comes from the fact that there just really aren't a lot of people that are producing brother, I gotta be careful how I say this. I sound like because I don't want to get into this whole thing of like bragging on myself or acting like my way is the best or any of this. Because there's way more than one way to skin this cat. Whatever the cat is, there's more than one way to skin it. The soapbox for me has to do with the fixation on features instead of and this isn't really necessarily directed at anybody here. I don't know if you guys are really this person that I'm describing. It's kind of like I forget his name, Ashnan. For the longest time, Ashnan would come and what tool should I use? And he's looking for the tool to solve the problem, and the problem is not the tools. The problem is he needs to just get busy and do it. Do something. And ever since I've been involved with, computers and computer graphics and CGI, going back into the 90s and 2000s, these dynamics, they've always been prevalent. I mean, you see this all the time in people. What I'm finding, if this is the best thing I can say for you guys, is this. What I'm finding overwhelmingly in my life is that increasingly I'm looking to eliminate things, not add. I don't want to add capabilities. I want to add my ability to be creative with more limited capabilities. Because it turns out it's more stable, it's more satisfying, and it is way, way more efficient. Way more efficient. Like by a landslide. I hope you guys understand what I mean by that. Because I may not be. explaining it quite as clearly as I might. Okay, something's missing here. There's a tween missing. Oh, yes, there's the problem. Oh, yeah, dude. I knew there was something missing. Okay, that's all right. We'll just go through and just do this organically. You know, it's the same thing with the shadows. You know, I'm just kind of winging it. I'm winging it in the sense of just saying, well, what does the prior frame feel like? Because most stuff, like, you know, talking about color and things like that, most stuff in animation basically needs to work in context. Because audiences don't remember context. You know, if your color key or your color scheme for a character changed kind of a lot, usually people aren't even going to notice it. You know, unless it's you got a green character who turns purple, you know, then they're going to notice that. But you get what I'm saying, people? Do you get what I'm saying? All right, fill tool. Boom, boom, boom. Come on, middle mouse. You're giving me grief, baby. Okay, I guess I already did that one, but that's because there's no key here. Boom, boom, boom. And B key. What time is it? 3:22. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to sign off here before too long. This is the time. It's the time of the season for watching Fringe. Val and I have been watching Fringe, and we typically watch Fringe around 3:30 in the afternoon. Not a bad show. It was originally executive produced by J.J. Abrams. It's an old show. It's like a 2008 circa kind of time frame, but definitely a pretty fun show. So I'm going to just throw a line in there, kind of hinting about the shadow situation. Oh, whoa! A lot of comments there. Okay, I thought that you would have character sheets for your character with turnarounds and other tips. Yeah, dress from chroma color used to be the industry standard. All colors would be number colored. Sure, that makes sense. You're the pro, so I guess crowdfunding would be sweet. I guess I'll just put the semi-finished form out there. See how well it's received. I'm gonna have to check out your channel because I haven't been seeing what you've been up to. I haven't seen what you've been up to. Yeah, Fringe is a fun show. So Val, I can hear her getting her lunch around, so that means it's getting close to Fringe time. Boop, boop. It's the time of the sea. Fill tool there. So now I'm kind of hurrying because I would like, let's go to the color layer. I would like G key. We're not in behind mode. We need to be in behind mode. Let's fix that. Fix that. Okay. So now here, gosh, should we try? Let's try. Anchor around there and see if we can. Oh man, well, I would say this. Being that it's a tween, I think I can get away with this here. Boom. I can get away with using the cheat digital tools. Cheaty. Boom. Legend of the Feather Spires ad. Thanks for streaming. I'm always picking on new stuff to use for creative. Chill, hang out too. Hey, Darren. Yeah, you've missed most of it. I'm gonna have to split pretty soon because it's time for lunch and Fringe. Lunch and Fringe. Okay, I'm gonna try this again, just because, as I say, I'm feeling a little bit. Why not? Okay, B key. Okay, and that's just speech. So this needs to just, actually, strike that. This needs to just be deleted. Okay, and then, no, I guess nothing changes there. So, given that that's true, and I do know, I do realize, by the way, friends, that I need to color in his eyes. But what I want to do is I'm saying, hey, he's landing on this frame. So therefore, oops, we don't want to be in erase mode. Therefore, I want to really pause and dial in this frame because we're going to be resting on it a bit. Okay, I would say let's go ahead and do that. Okay, yeah, this should really be here, in my humble opinion. Okay, and color, let's just do black. So I'm going to go here, and here comes Valerie, so I got to hurry. I'm going to get his eyes colored in, and then I'm going to quit. So that gives me 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's it. Time to go watch Fringe. So, you guys, it's been a blast. By the way, what is this, a rogue frame? I think it is. Yeah, that's a rogue frame. So that's it. I'm out of here. As you guys know, there will be